Oh, what's going on, guys? It's Horse Beef here, and I'm bringing you another tier list video. And today I'm going to be covering the biggest one-trick ponies in the history of MMA. And now this isn't a very long list. This one will be a little bit more brief than my usual ones, but let's just get into it here, man. The first one, we got Ben Askren, and this man just essentially dives for your legs. You could say, of course, the spinning back fist is devastating, yes, but for the most part, Ben Askren just dives for legs and ground and pound. I would say ground and pound is his one trick. Yeah, I know he does have submission victories and such, but essentially he dives for legs and ground and pounds. That's literally all Ben Askren's good for. Now, as far as the effectiveness of this one trick, I mean, he did get him far, but once he got to the big stage, I know he got past Robbie Lawler, but that was at a prime Robbie Lawler after getting suplexed on his dome top. So I don't know. Couldn't get past Damian Maia. Couldn't get past Masvidal. I'll put Ben Askren in. I'll put him in B tier just to be respectful to him. Cody McKenzie. This man has over 10 victories via guillotine choke. If you ever watched him fight, he was a wild man when he was in the UFC for the somewhat brief period that he was in the UFC. And I mean, like 10 plus victories with the same method, to me, is pretty impressive. So even though Cody McKenzie isn't a big name in MMA, the fact that you can secure that many victories with the same type of submission, man, he might be one of the most successful in the sport when it comes to a single method of victory, right? Like how many individuals have finished their opponent with the same method, down to the specific type of submission, being the guillotine or the triangle, the armbar, whatever. I think Cody McKenzie might be that type of specialist where he deserves to be close to the top. So just based off the effectiveness of that one trick, I'm putting Cody McKenzie in A tier. And then we get into Derrick Lewis. Now, if he didn't land a big overhand and KO you flat, then there's just nothing that Derrick Lewis had to offer. When it came to a technical battle, he had nothing to offer. It was just big swings. And I know it's not just an overhand. He did KO Curtis Blades with that uppercut. But mostly it was just a big overhand, like against Volkov, against Dawkins. Yes, he did get De Lima with the flying knee and then ground and pound. And then Nascimento he got recently with a big punch. But yeah, pretty much what it boils down to is Derrick Lewis needs to land a big punch. Otherwise, he's either going to be finished via body shots at some point during the fight or just be grinded out. And there's really no other option in a Derrick Lewis fight. So yeah, Derrick Lewis, how effective is that one trick? I mean, arguably he should be up here with Cody McKenzie, right? Because he is the most decorated knockout artist in heavyweight history, if I remember correctly. So I mean, if anybody's worthy of being up here, it's definitely Derrick Lewis. Although I don't want to put him at S tier because I do want to reserve that S tier spot for someone very specific here. And then we get into Ryan Hall, and essentially his one trick is jiu-jitsu. Even though jiu-jitsu is a bit more all-encompassing than just being a one trick, right? There are a lot of aspects to jiu-jitsu. It's not just one thing. It's not just a rear naked. It's not just a triangle choke. There are many different types of joint holds, and you know what I mean? Like it's not just a one trick type of thing. But the way Ryan Hall would approach it, and the fact that he's competing in the sport of MMA, and only trying to Imanari roll or pull guard the second that someone gets in the pocket with him, he doesn't want to exchange. It just shows his reliance on jiu-jitsu. And yes, he did have a good kicking game, right? He would throw good kicks, right, at range. That was essentially his only form of offense on the feet. But the fact that he never really finished opponents or did anything significant with those kicks, I know he did land like a pretty nice spinning heel kick against Darren Elkins, but it's not enough for me to say that he is anything more or was anything more than a one-trick pony. I was never a huge fan of Ryan Hall. It never really got him that far in the sport. So I'm going to put Ryan Hall's one trick at D tier, even though he is such a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner and probably one of the highest-level jiu-jitsu practitioners to ever compete in the UFC. It doesn't matter. For me, he's got I'm going to be a little bit more respectful and say C tier. Ronda Rousey, I'm just going to put her straight in. Man, would it be disrespectful to put her in D tier? It definitely would be. But she really did cook a lot of these women early on in her career with that armbar. If it was, yes, she did get some knockouts, but were those knockouts based off of her expertise in the striking department? Absolutely not. She had awful striking. It was just the fact that she was fighting women like Betch Correia, who has no business even masquerading as a professional fighter. And a lot of the women that she was knocking out during that time, or I think she got like 2 knockouts. Yeah, if you're getting knocked out by Ronda Rousey, you retire from combat sports right then and there. But yeah, if it wasn't for the armbar, she would have never got as far as she did in the sport. Just to be respectful to Ronda Rousey, I'll put her in C tier, even though I want to throw her in D. Paul Craig, similar to Ryan Hall, it's just jiu-jitsu. It's all he has. He has the last second submissions in him. If not, then he really has nothing else. He cannot strike for shit. He actually looked pretty good in his last fight, in all honesty, but then just resorted to the same old tactics of dropping to his back and hoping for the best. But Paul Craig, maybe he deserves a little bit more respect. He did get Jamal Hill. You know what? I'm going to put Paul Craig in C tier along with Ronda and Ryan Hall. Darren Till, 1-2 or nothing, right? He has a left hand and that's all. Yes, he can throw a good leg kick. He can throw a good high kick. He can throw a good kick to the body. I guess he can throw a right hook. But really, it's not even a 1-2. It's just the 2. It's just the left hand down the pipe. It's all he really had ever. And did it get him that far? I guess it did get him to a title shot. I don't know. I don't even want to put him up in B tier with Ben Askren, because he didn't even have a storied career like a Ben Askren. I will put Darren Till in C tier as well. Merab Dvalishvili, his one trick is his cardio. If it's not for his cardio, Merab Dvalishvili would never be at the position that he's in his career. His grappling is not as dominant as it could be or as it should be, right? And his striking has really no effectiveness to it. There's no pop on his strikes. Watch his fighting against Peter Yan. He had nothing for Peter the whole time. His strikes really had no visible effect on him, aside from the eye damage, of course. And he attempted upwards of 50 takedowns and landed a very small percentage of them. And it really just shows, man, Merab doesn't have to be the best grappler. He doesn't have to be the most dominant grappler. All he needs to do is put the foot on the gas, and eventually he will weigh on you, and eventually you will not be able to keep up with the pace that he's bringing. So I believe that Merab's one trick, even though, yeah, technically he's one-rounded because his striking technique is okay, right? His grappling is impressive, but ultimately what it comes down to is Merab's conditioning and his cardio. So as far as a one trick goes, man, Merab, he's pushing this S tier category, but I'm going to put him in A tier up there with Derrick Lewis and Cody McKenzie. Khabib Nurmagomedov, now I know the Reddit MMA fan base, if you come across this video, you're going to eviscerate me in the comments and say that I know nothing for putting Khabib as a one trick pony, man. But what was Khabib effective with? Was diving for legs, getting the Dagestani handcuff or tying your legs up between his, whatever you'd call that specific technique. I'm not really too sure. But essentially all he would do was take you down and ground and pound you or submit you. And I get it. Yes, grappling is just like jiu-jitsu in and of itself. Yes, Khabib's skill set is more well-rounded than just being a one-trick pony, I suppose. But when it comes to the one trick that Khabib possesses, it's the most effective one trick I think anyone's ever displayed in the history of combat sports. So for him to be not as well-rounded as other all-time greats like GSPs and John Jones, right? Because you would never in your right mind say he's as well-rounded as those guys, but he still cemented himself as an all-time great in the sport with that one trick. Khabib has to be an S tier, and it's not even really an argument at all. Demian Maia, even he himself would admit that he is a one-trick pony. He would say that it's jiu-jitsu or nothing. The man had nothing in terms of striking. It's really all jiu-jitsu, and for that reason, it did take him a pretty long distance in the sport. Honestly, fought like some of the best welterweights to ever compete in that division, and middleweights too, right? He did compete at middleweight as well. Fought some of the best fighters of all time, especially of this generation. So Demian Maia, I'm going to put him in A tier because it did take him a far distance. And yeah, you know what? For Cody McKenzie, does he deserve to be up there? Yes, he does, man. 10 plus submissions via guillotine. Yes, he does deserve to be up there. Rousimar Palares, I'm going to stick him directly in D tier because I do not like this man. He really only had knee submissions. Yes, his grappling is very high level, but when it came down to it, he had the knee bar and he had the heel hook, and he would hold on to them for too long and ultimately just try and cause career-altering damage to his opponents, and I do not respect that. So Rousimar Palares deserves to be nowhere but D tier, and he may be the only one in D tier just to make an example out of Rousimar Palares. Not a fan of him. None of us should be. He's an asshole. Moving on. Royce Gracie. Now this one, for a long time jiu-jitsu stands, maybe this is a bit offensive to you, but ultimately you can't really dispute this one. Royce Gracie brought jiu-jitsu into the MMA world, popularized jiu-jitsu, and he's a legendary name in MMA and in jiu-jitsu, but he really only had that. And the second that anyone could deal with the jiu-jitsu, he had absolutely nothing. He's even more one-dimensional than even a Damian Maia is in that regard. But still, he is Royce Gracie. But I'm going to put him down here with Ben Askren, because even though he's a legend of the sport, he really didn't have anything, and so we'll keep him there. That is the tier list, everyone. Let me know in the comments if you prefer these shorter, more digestible videos, or if your attention span can pull you through those longer, like 45-minute to an hour-long tier list videos that I've made in the past. If you do like those ones, also let me know in the comments. I am curious what you guys prefer, because I know attention spans are dropping, every day in the year 2024 with TikTok and all that shit. But yeah, let me know in the comments section below also what you thought about the video, anyone who I left out of this, and anyone who you think is on the list that doesn't deserve to be on the list, who you think is more well-rounded than I gave them credit for. Once again, let me know in the comments, and yeah, I'll be replying, reading all your comments as always, and thank you for watching, and have a good one.